Capaccio, Sal Capaccio, Sal Capaccio, Sal Capaccio, Sal Capaccio, Sal Capaccio, Sal Capaccio on WGR.
Okay, welcome back, and we're going live on our Facebook page as well. You can check us out there. How do you guys like the way this all falls for discussion purposes? The first round, and then we get a day, and then 2 and 3, and then another, a night anyway, or a little bit of time. Do you like how this breaks down, Bulldog? Do you think it's, the best way it could be, the draft?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think the league has found a way to maximize discussion about it. I mean, separating rounds 1 and then rounds 2 and 3 from 4 through 7 on Saturday. It almost seems hilarious to think that all of this happened on one day for many, many, many years. Right.
Yeah.
I don't know how long ago it was that they branched into the weekdays, but I know it's during the life of our show. I mean, I know we did Saturday draft shows where the whole thing started at noon and it just went till 8 o'clock at night or whatever, or even later, and that was the draft. So I think, as much as you can, and I like to make fun of the league for just how massive a business it is, and how not shy they are about making sure that in certain ways. I think this has been a home run, moving it to Thursday for round 1 as a standalone. I think you pay more attention. I find myself paying more attention after round 1 because rounds 2 and 3 are their own day. And I don't think, I think other years when it was all on Saturday, I would, okay, what did the Bills do first? And then, okay, time to go out and do whatever I'm going to do. And I'll keep in touch, but I'm not going to sit and watch it. Whereas these Fridays, I end up sitting and watching it because it's, it feels more important than it did when it was all on one day.
We remember those Saturdays, and also, I'm sure you do too, Sal, Tuesdays or Wednesdays growing up. I remember my mom came out the door when I was standing at the end of the driveway waiting for the bus to tell me whether it was Tony Hunter or Jim Kelly. But there was that year, and she gave me the update. So that was how I remember that anyway. But that would be 8, 9 in the morning on a weekday, and just, who knows, I don't know how long it went, but all day, probably.
I remember staying home from school one day.
Yeah.
And I did not do it to watch the NFL draft, but I remember going, I think the draft is on today. Oh, yeah, so I definitely am sick. I remember that.
I did the same thing at least once. Yes.
Wow.
And then it was all 12 rounds, too, by the way, right? It wasn't just
sure.
7. It was all 12 going all day, which was crazy.
I don't remember the draft on weekdays at all as a kid. I don't remember really paying a lot of attention to the draft. I mean, I knew they drafted Jim Kelly in 1983, but I don't remember paying attention to the actual event at all until much later in my life, maybe even when I started working in media, honestly. I don't remember those weekday drafts at all.
Well, the draft is cool because whether you know the day of the week, you can remember feelings and emotions and how you felt when certain picks happened, things like that. This one, Sal, last night, I'm not sure how memorable it is. Some of that will depend on the player, but of course the Bills picking later than ever and very late at night. How do you think they did?
They addressed, I think, the position that I felt was most in play. It was always to me between edge and corner, as you guys know. And of course, it could have been running back. It could have been wide receiver. But to me, those were the two positions that I zeroed in on that I thought that they were going to address most likely. If the board fell a certain way, I felt they'd stick to their board, but those would probably be the two most likely areas. As far as the player is concerned, I think what's interesting to me about this is there's been two school of thoughts through this whole draft process. Do the Bills try to get someone to come in right now in the Super Bowl window to help them? Or, knowing at 30 that that's going to be tough, do they understand that and pick more long-term and are okay with that? We got our answer last night. Now, I don't know if they tried to move up to get that guy that could be more of an immediate impact, but they drafted for long-term, guys. This is not a player that's going to walk on the field in 2021 and be a terror off the edge. This is a guy that he's going to be a replacement for either Jerry Hughes or Mario Addison, and A.J. Epinesa is going to be the replacement for the other. And they have what they probably consider their two bookend defensive ends, or at least defensive lineman. He can kick inside, and I think eventually, he'll do a lot of that. But this is clearly a player that they took more for the long term than the short term, which answered that question.
How much did it surprise you that they selected a guy that did not play football last year? Like before we, got to it and they made the pick, I don't know. I don't think I would want to say they would not have had a guy like that on their board. They would be one of these teams that would just look, with real disdain at a guy that decided not to play last year. But just not having played, I guess I just would not have expected the Bills to be a fan of that. And yet here they are. They picked a guy that last played college football in, January of 2020.
Not surprised that they took a guy that didn't play because there were so many guys who opted out, right? I mean, when all the opt-outs started happening in the fall of last year and you're hearing about all these top players, you're like, okay, well, these guys are going to train for the draft. They're going to go and teams are going to select them. So I wasn't surprised about that. But I do think you have to at least evaluate that and think and understand why. And as Brandon Beane said, they went through every single situation. Everybody had their own reasons why. And it turned out with this particular young man, Greg Rousseau, his mom is a COVID nurse. He didn't want to not play college football last year, but he and his family felt it was the best decision for him since his mom would be obviously on the front lines. He was going to help out his family. So they made that decision for them. And I think that made the Bills feel much more comfortable about just saying, well, here's a guy who had a chance to not play college football because they gave him the opportunity, so he decided not to play college football. I think they feel that, A, this was a unique circumstance, which they totally understood, and B, actually probably appealed to them that he didn't play for that reason, right? That he is a family man that wanted to help his family and, be someone who's there for his family in that situation.
Well, family man, yes, but also maybe with a mind to protect his team.
Yes.
Right? Like if you're going to be under all kinds of protocols with your teammates, but living in a house with someone who's going to a hospital every day. I mean, I felt this way very strongly last March when we had to decide who was going to work from home and who was going to go to work. I thought, well, my wife is going to be, exposed. And, it seems obvious to me, like I shouldn't be the one coming into the studio and being around even a skeleton crew. So I think to an extent, Russo may I don't know. I don't even heard him really talk in depth about this, but it might have been with as much of a mind to protect his team as his family, or help out the family.
It's a great point. And I have no doubt the Bills were mindful of that when they interviewed him. Multiple Zoom calls they talked about, and they probably felt not only really comfortable by that, but honestly probably impressed by that he had mind enough to do that. And hey, we all know how much that matters to them: culture, locker room, caring about your teammates, family oriented. And I think they probably felt, look, if he's willing to be able to put that aside for his teammates and for the betterment of the team, like we're getting a guy who we don't have to worry about walking in this locker room and being a selfish individual. And I'm sure that mattered a lot on their draft board. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Sal, do you have any window into how popular within the room this pick was, or whether there was any, disagreement? There would always be discussion, of course. And I think normally some dissent, right? That would just stand to reason with however many people there are discussing these picks. Teams will rarely admit when there is as well. But any idea, like Beane, McDermott, who is this maybe the better pick for, if that's a way of asking the same question?
I don't know of any discussion, dissension, any peek into the room other than what we saw on a little bit of a video, which was everybody fist bumping. So everybody was acting as this they were really down with the pick, right?
Yeah, did anybody shun? So was it like when O'Reilly scored and Eichel would just stand there, or was it anything like that?
How come we don't have the video of allegedly, Marone slamming the door and walking out of the room when they traded up for Sammy Watkins, right? I mean,
yeah, we don't have that.
Don't have that either. So I can't tell you that. I thought it was interesting that Brandon Beane said early this morning when we were on Zoom with him, because that's how late it was. He was asked basically what you were trying to get out of your top pick. And he said, somebody who could impact the passer, somebody who could affect the passer. And I think if that's since that's his answer, I think to me, there's got to be a consensus. That's what they came to as a team. This is what we need. Let's get it. Now, I don't know maybe which guy, right? Is is Ojulari maybe ahead on some scouts list and they feel that he's the better fit or something like that. That's possible. But I got the sense just listening to Brandon Beane that they were pretty much as a team, as an organization, pretty much in lockstep on what they needed to go after here. And that was somebody to affect the passer, as he put it, which also probably gets you away from some other positions that they felt they wanted to target. Now, he can say that because obviously this is the player they took, but I thought that was an interesting answer when he was asked that. Somebody to affect the passer.
Yeah, it doesn't eliminate corner as a candidate either, right? Like, or even safety, I guess, if you want, right? Because those guys affect passer too.
That's right. So I think, Mike, to answer your question, obviously you have a defensive head coach. So I'd say it would help both of them because I think Sean McDermott's defense didn't perform up to Sean McDermott's standards last year and what he wanted. At times they were. So he probably gets a player that he feels that, can help. But at the same time, Brandon Beane, as a general manager, his job is to keep the train running, so to speak, even beyond this year. So this is obviously a player he felt comfortable with. Look, both these guys just signed contract extensions. They signed a player that's going to be more of a guy for the long term than the short term, like I said. So it's not like either one of them has anything necessarily on the line where if it doesn't work out, they're going to lose their job.
Right. That's big, right? I mean, some teams would just not, this player would not be in play for them because they think it's going to take time. Although the first team I think of is Chicago, and Chicago drafted Justin Fields, and I wonder just how quickly they'll need to win with that pick having been made. Sal Capaccio with us here on the Wester Hotline. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog with Sneaky Joe, and we are on our Facebook live stream as well.
Sal, the thing I said in the first hour, like the thing I guess I like the most about this pick once it's made and you sort of like dig in a little bit is that, what did I say many times when we talked about edge? Guys that have the traits to succeed in the league at that position aren't available at 30 usually. But here's a guy where, he didn't play last year. So if he had played last year and displayed those traits like he did in the previous season and approached the production. I mean, he had 15 and a half sacks, say what you will about some of them, which just look like, total whiffs by blockers, but whatever. He produced and showed some real good signs, but didn't do anything last year. If he had, maybe he is someone who displays those traits and is not available at 30. So, it's a shot, I think, and it's a project. But I can respect the Bills' thinking here, even though it's not something that helps them immediately.
Yeah, you wonder, Bulldog, going back to your previous question, if maybe other teams did push him down their board because he didn't play, right? I mean, he had the production 2 years ago, so obviously every case is different. Maybe, if he plays this year and he's having an average year, whatever his year is, if he does play and he has huge production, he probably goes earlier. If he does play and he doesn't, maybe not, but maybe teams did push him down their board. It's funny, I was just having this conversation this morning on Twitter with one of the Cover One guys, Aaron Quinn, and we were going back and forth because Aaron made a good point about how, the traits are, overproduction basically. And I think that that's actually what the Bills do value more. You look at the traits because production can come any number of ways. And I don't mean to be disparaging when I say this. I think about Jarrett Patterson, for example. Look at the production of Jarrett Patterson as a running back at the University of Buffalo. Of course it's there. We've seen time and time again, lots of college players have huge production, but their traits just don't translate to the NFL. And you have to really be comfortable with that's the kind of style, that's the kind of trait, that's the kind of length and athleticism and all those kinds of things. I'm not even talking about character and personality. Just those are the kinds of things that are going to happen. I bet you that if Greg Rousseau had only 7 or 8 sacks last year, I think the Bills still draft him in this spot because he still is the same player with the same traits, and that's what they would look for. And it seems like that's very important to the Bills. Josh Allen, the traits were much, sure, he was productive for his school, but the traits outweighed the production. This was, oh my God, look what we can get in this guy. Dawson Knox, same way, right? I mean, you look at guys like, Darryl Johnson, like what he looks like and how you can put him on your defense and he can do this number of things. I think the Bills have demonstrated drafting those types of players who have the high-end ceilings because of the traits versus the guys that were more productive in college that you might not know necessarily if they're going to translate.
Yep, sounds right. Let's look at tonight, Sal. We've got plenty of time left in the day, and we'll even chat again in a couple of hours. The Bills picking, as of now, 61, fourth from last in round 2. And then 93, same in round 3. There are compensatory picks after that. But no trades or anything here. You're near the bottom in rounds 2 and 3. What do you think they want to get done?
Yeah, so I put a list of 12 players together if people want to read it at WGR550.com. I have 7 on offense and 5 on defense, I believe. It's pretty much a listing of a lot of the top players you'll see around with, best players available. But I do think a lot of them would fit for the Bills. I do think I wonder if they want to add to the secondary. We talked about that as possibly even, when Greg Newsome was there, obviously you guys saw, just like I did, like he went off the board just before the Bills, and I thought that would have been a really good fit. Maybe that's someone they want to add. Maybe not necessarily to compete for a starting job, but at least has depth. I mean, Asante Samuel's still there. I don't think Asante Samuel is a very good scheme fit, but he's a really good football player. But speaking of that, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah of Notre Dame. Anybody who's asked me about this kid for the last 2 months, I've said, where's he going to play? He's an off-ball linebacker. They have 2 young guys. They just re-signed Matt Milano. I don't see them moving on from Tremaine Edmonds. Okay, but now we're in a different discussion. If you get this guy in round 2 somehow, I'm all for it. He's that good of a football player that I'm not using a first-round pick on a part-time player. A second-round pick who's going to help me, and I'll sort it out. I'll let the chips fall where they may. I'm fine with that. And then I do think wide receiver becomes in play because of some of the names on the board. Elijah Moore, Rondale Moore, Terrace Marshall Jr. They're all kind of a little bit different, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills go that route either.
It'd be interesting to see how fast some of those names come off the board, right? Like the linebacker, Karamosa, you're talking about, like people were maybe somewhat surprised that he didn't get drafted last night. So to think that he could get to 61, I mean, that would really be quite a fall for him.
Yep.
And maybe some of these other names, like Elijah Moore was another guy. I know Joe he liked Rondale Moore and more, but Elijah Moore was an idea at 30, I think, that some people thought for the Bills. And so, again, to have him go another 30 picks seems maybe tough, but, you never know. Someone obviously is going to be there. Maybe the corner from Syracuse is the best bet.
And I didn't even mention him, but obviously you guys know I like Efatu Melifonwu of Syracuse, and he's a terrific scheme fit. He's long. He can play special teams. I think you can use him in a number of ways. An under-the-radar candidate, but I don't think he'll get there because I thought he was going to be a first-round pick. But if for some reason he started to fall, I think Trevon Mayrig of TCU, he's a safety, but don't think of him as a safety. He can play corner. I mean, this is a guy that, you just are comfortable with him on your defense in a number of different ways, but he's more of the back end secondary player on the outside, whereas Karamoah from Notre Dame is kind of that Swiss Army knife inside player. He's more of the Swiss Army knife outside player. I just think that he's too good to pass up if he's sitting there and you're on the clock, or even if he starts to fall maybe. When
ETN went and then Newsome went, I started thinking about the safety at 30. Just reading I quickly read a couple things about him and versatile and all that. I wonder if that's a sneaky need. Like McDermott would love to have a guy like that, even if he's not going to be a starter because of Hayden Poyer. But they play a lot of nickel, and maybe he's a big nickel candidate, that kind of thing. So, to even have thought that about picking him at 30 again, to have him get to the back end of round 2 would be pretty nice.
Yeah, and then offensive line obviously could always come into play because you always look for depth there. Tevin Jenkins is still there, probably a guard at the NFL level. The Dickerson from Alabama, Humphrey from Oklahoma. Humphrey's a straight center, though. I mean, if you take that, you're basically saying we're drafting Mitch Morris's replacement, but these are good football players.
All right, Sal, we'll talk to you later. Thanks.
Okay, guys, thank you.
All right, Sal Capaccio on our Wester hotline, and his appearances, as always, brought to you by New York's only outlet liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet?
Our draft coverage again today is presented by Taco Bell, which is now hiring. Taco Bell and KFC hiring for all positions in the Buffalo area. Great careers available for team member and management positions. Be part of a dynamic brand offering competitive pay and a flexible work schedule. Stop in today and ask for an application, or you can apply online, tbjobs.bbgnorth.com or kfcjobs.bbgnorth.com. Text BBG-TB to 85,000 for Taco Bell, BBG-KFC to 85,000 for KFC applicants. Message and data rates may apply. Start with us, stay with us. Joe's got his taco hat on again, as those of you watching on Facebook can see. Neck got better, turned out all right. No permanent damage.
Just sitting a little. You got to get adjust to it because you got a lot of taco coming out the back here.
Oh, if I had a dime for every time I've heard someone say it, I've got to get adjusted to it.
Taco coming out the back.
He's got taco out the back, everybody. No, I mean, it's a great hat. I'd wear it most places.
Yeah, maybe I'll just start wearing it around. Why not?
Why not? Exactly. Hey, what did you think? Gregory Rousseau, the Aaron Rodgers thing, the Dolphins, the Patriots, the Jets. We'll talk about round 2 and 3. What do you want? All those questions, of course, on the table as we discuss the draft. 803-0550 is the number here. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog with Sneaky Joe. It's going to be a long night for Joe and Nate Geary covering tonight's draft and tomorrow. So settle in with us here on WGR.
Sabres Coach Watch on
earned the position for me, and I was blessed enough to have great coaches, to help me out and help me get acclimated to the position. I got a lot better than I was when I came in real quick. I had a really rapid rate.
Gregory Rousseau, the Bills' first-round pick in 2021. They did not trade up or down, and he was on WGR this morning, had a nice conversation with Howard and Jeremy, talked about being familiar with the area. He said this is the one place he wanted to be, Buffalo, because he knew it as well as he did. Family connections. Check it out on the Odyssey app, AUDACY, or at WGR550.com, as well as all our other content here. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog and Sneaky Joe were also streaming live on our Facebook page today. Bulldog did not get his wish of Travis Etienne to the Bills. That, to me, says nothing about where the Bills end up at running back after the next 2 days. I mean, they might have thought and been ready to pick Etienne at 30.
Yep.
And there are other interesting players.
Yeah, I mean, Joe's mentioned Gainwell from Memphis, and his name has come up to me, through my Twitter feed and even Facebook and whatnot. I've gotten some people suggesting him, so that's someone that could be available, maybe even as late as tomorrow. I don't know.
Maybe.
But certainly he'd be available, I think, tonight to them at 61 if they wanted to go that route. So if they feel like they need that, and, who knows? Maybe they thought all along we don't want to invest our first pick in trying to find some speed and home run ability at running back, but they're open to doing it, and maybe Gainwell's a guy they have had targeted all along. Who knows?
They do not have a fourth-round pick tomorrow as of now, but they do have 2 fifths, a 6th, and a 7th. There has been a free agent signing in the league today that can still be done. Atlanta has signed a second quarterback now that they did not draft one last night. They could still draft one tonight, the Falcons. Until just now, Matt Ryan was the only quarterback on the roster.
Wow.
But now they have A.J. McCarron as well. They've signed him to back up. Or will there be a competition? What do you think there?
There'll be a competition between McCarron and the guy they draft tonight.
Maybe.
To back up Matt Ryan. Maybe that'll be your competition.
McCarron has fairly recent competition experience.
Right, and it didn't go that well for him, I don't think.
Top 5 last night, you get the widely expected picks at 1 and 2, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson. Then it is Trey Lance at 3. Joe, boy, you two, you have a bet with these two guys. You win the bet. You have the money before you can even blink. Joe paid me for the Lance bet within seconds after that pick was made. So thank you, Joe.
I might have even made it before the pick was made. No,
really?
Yeah, you know what I made? I sent it
Never
to you.
do that.
There was a reporter on Twitter that tweeted the pick, who I then muted because I didn't want to see the picks the rest of the night. So it was before Goodell got to the podium, and I Venmo'd you.
Yeah,
but I had seen that it was going to be the pick.
But that's it then. If he would have been wrong, I'm not going to refund you. You're conceding.
Well, you could refund him.
I could. I wouldn't, but I could. I wouldn't.
Why wouldn't you?
Because he concedes the bet. Once you pay it, you've paid the. That's it. You've conceded. Like, I lost here. Why not wait? Because the answer is because you're such a cool dude that you just don't want there to be. Both of you guys are the same in this way. I think I am too. You don't want there to be any suspicion that you're not going to pay.
I sent $50 for the Masters.
This is good.
Bet
Yes.
while I was in Colorado. Or no, I did it before we left because the Masters happened. Yeah, the Masters was over. But while I was in Colorado, I got a notification. I had sent it to the wrong Michael Schopp or maybe whatever. I sent it to the wrong person.
Yeah.
And I only found that out. Like, you never said, hey, I didn't get paid. I don't think I texted you and said, hey, check your Venmo. I think I just did it. And I had sent it to the wrong person, and this person sent the money back to me and said, wrong person. And I wrote them back, like, thank you. And then I texted you, like, what is your thing again? Because I must have made a mistake, and I did. And so it was nice that person was, considerate enough to send me the $50 back.
Right. I think you can get it back when that happens, but you'd rather not have to go through that.
Right.
So 3 Trey Lance, and fine. How about Shanahan saying something like, "Oh, we've known for 2 months."
And of course, I believe him.
Yes, that's right. That's where you're in a spot. The combination of smokescreen gullibility, but also the 49ers knew the whole time.
It just never made sense to me that they would have gone up there, paid all that, and just let's see who we like. I thought that was crazy. I mean, I know that guys always say this is the guy we wanted all along. In this case, because I'm firmly entrenched on there's no way they went up there as an exploratory mission to decide which guy they liked. I'm taking him at his word. I think the only sensible explanation, it's pretty frivolous, is that maybe he hoped that Mac Jones talk would get Bill Belichick to give him something for Jimmy Garoppolo. And because we're going to take the guy that we think you want, or maybe we know you want. But as it turns out, Bill Belichick got to sit where he was at 15 and got Mac Jones.
So is that dead now? Garoppolo to New England, is that dead?
Oh,
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100% dead.
Yep.
So where does he play?
What would they do with him?
Where does he play? San Francisco?
Yeah.
For
Maybe
20
he starts the season.
Yep.
Same as Newton.
Oof, boy. I'd like to bet against that.
I think it's dumb. I mean, I can imagine what it will sound like. It's like, oh, Trey Lance, he's the project guy that might need some grooming, not a lot of experience. I would counter with that. He's played 1 season in the last 3 years. He didn't play as a freshman, and his team didn't have a season last year.
Okay.
So to sit him again, it's like, okay, 4 years, he's got 17 games. But I could see them also saying, he's raw, we're good,
Yeah.
Garoppolo's healthy, let's see how we start with him.
Okay.
Because I don't know who else would trade for him at this point. Who else needs a guy?
Right. At that price?
That guy. Right. Yeah, that's right.
Who else needs that guy? That's right.
Right. Washington? I don't know.
But that's a pretty fast fall, Garoppolo.
For sure.
Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Fourth quarter, 10-point lead.
Goff and Garoppolo in Super Bowls, like
Last
very
3 years.
recently, and Goff is still a starter, but
Yeah,
teams are done with him.
Mahomes should watch out. Of the last 3 Super Bowl losers, 2 have already, one's been traded and one might be on the outs.
Yeah, better look over your shoulder, Patrick.
Before that, it would have been, Brady and Foles. That's tough to rope into this. So 4 is Atlanta, Kyle Pitts. That was gettable in our betting game that my friends and I had. Most of us had Pitts. Seemed like that's where that was going to end up, and it did. No quarterback for Atlanta. Anybody mind that for them? I mean, there was a good argument for doing it, but they didn't do it.
I don't mind it because of where they are. Like the commitment they've made to Ryan for this year, and I think next would have made it weird to me to take somebody because they're sort of stuck on Matt Ryan now. Once they did that, I thought the idea of them drafting a quarterback was dead. They had to keep going and trying to win with Matt Ryan. So, yeah, Pitts to me was, as much as Najee Harris to the Steelers was an easy get and probably in some high percentage of mock drafts, I feel like Kyle Pitts was the easiest money in the draft at 4 for Atlanta.
All right, yeah, I'm pretty close there on that. 5 I got wrong. I thought 5 would be Sewell, the tackle, by the Bengals, but they went with Joe Burrow's college receiver, Jamar Chase. And, good for them. That could be a fun team. If they can sort of escape from being the Bengals, they should be fun and cool, right?
Yeah.
Like, look at
their...
their...
If they can block for Joe Burrow, then maybe then T. Higgins and Jamar Chase will really work out for them, which sort of circles you back to maybe they should have done the tackle. But yeah, I thought they would take the tackle too, because that seemed like a safer, maybe Bengali kind of thing to do. We've got this quarterback. He tore his knee last year. Let's protect him.
Yeah, I thought they would. I don't think they should have, but I think they did the right thing. But I guessed in the moment, I guessed that they would pick Sewell. There were people saying both. The Bengals can probably address that tonight. I mean, they'll have early picks in the 2 rounds tonight, and
right.
there are That's one thing from last night that we have is like there's apparently lots of good lineman prospects still available. So teams like the Bengals, maybe the Giants, where you might have thought they would do that and they didn't, maybe that happens tonight. And then let's do one more. 6 is Miami.
Love Jalen Waddle.
What was the reaction to the pick from him about? Do you see what he did?
He just walked away from his family.
Yeah, he's in a big family gathering.
Yeah.
He gets up and just left.
Well, I saw a follow-up to that today. I did not think to retweet it. He got a phone call from the Dolphins and hugged everyone and then sat back down. And then his family all saw it on Twitter or they're streaming the ESPN, whatever. And so when he gets his name is called, he just gets up. He's already and high-fived everybody in the room. So he just okay, I'm going to go out there now. So it looked funny when you didn't know the thing that preceded it, which wasn't shown at least on the footage that I saw, but I did see last night. So I think it wasn't as maybe weird as it looked.
Okay.
He did spend a few minutes with everybody excited after the Dolphins called him and then just left when the pick was officially made.
So he's fine with that. He's not
seems
angry.
like it, yeah.
He's back with Tua.
So.
He said Jones was better to play with than Tua. So hopefully that doesn't get. I mean, for the Dolphins' sake, anyway. Get complicated. But that's what I had. I had one prop bet, like a real one, placed, not just with Joe, and that was it. That Waddle be picked in the top 10. And that paid well. That was an exciting moment for me. I was more excited than Waddle was.
I liked his chances. It'd be interesting to know. I mean, if the Bengals had gone Sewell, I think I might have said one time, and I didn't do anything about this, like try to find the action, but I would have liked to bet on Waddle being the first receiver.
Yeah,
because I think if Chase didn't go to Cincinnati to go play with Burrow, and they took Sewell instead, then I guess they could have taken Waddle too, Cincinnati. But Miami pairing him up with Tua seemed like a pretty good idea, and I would have guessed. I guess I'm saying I would have predicted they would have taken Waddle ahead of Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I wonder. That could have been right. We will talk some more about the first round, rounds 2 and 3 to follow tonight. Your calls are welcome at 803-0550, and we are streaming on the Facebook Live device. The WGR Facebook page. You can check us out there. Joe's Taco Hat. You can't miss it. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. This is WGR. Gregory Rousseau. Bulldog, remember Russo from Lost?
Yes.
No relation. By
That
the
seems
way.
right.
Was she the first person you meet on the show who was not on the plane?
Ooh. I don't know. Do we meet who's the Australian guy that ends up being a really key character? He's the guy that sees the doctor running later, like in the stadium and stuff. What's that guy's name?
Desmond?
Him before her? Desmond, yeah.
He's
Did we meet
later.
him before her?
No.
He's later?
No,
Okay.
he's in that hatch.
Okay.
But they're just wandering around discovering the island, and then I think they run into her like early, second or third episode, I want to say.
Oh, wow.
Pretty
Okay,
early
yeah.
on. Maybe that's wrong,
Yeah.
but pretty early on.
Yeah.
She got a radio. They're trying to fix her radio.
Right.
Does that sound right? Or am I confusing this
Yeah.
with Gilligan's Island?
For sure. She was left there, with a group that met the similar fate, but just earlier, years earlier. Yeah.
Joe was telling me that he bailed on that show.
On Lost?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't make it to the end. Season 3, probably, I teetered
You know,
out.
what they did that was so smart, I don't know, maybe this is not that interesting or cool, but they made you want to find out the meaning of it. Like you had any show, it goes on and you get bored or you just sort of characters change, whatever. But that show made you want to stay, even though it dragged. But
Yeah, tracked.
you wanted to find out what did it mean actually? What actually was all this for? Right? You know, another show doesn't
Yep.
do that.
I've watched every episode of that show twice because my wife and I plowed through it, and then when the kids were old enough to sort of grasp it, we all watched it together, the four of us.
Mm-hmm.
And Leo watches stuff incessantly, and he was watching it again. And it might be not the first time he's watched it all himself too. So
Wow.
that show's gotten a lot of traction in the Parker house.
That's crazy, because that show to me does not strike me as rewatchable. Like, cause right, I'm waiting to see what happens. Like, I want to find it out. Once I know what is there to see. But
I like
That's my own
I like both points. I like both points. I have not tried, but I have started out to rewatch it, but then got really bored early because I got it. I got it really, a lot of it is the mystery of okay, what is the deal here actually?
I'm thinking of doing that again now with Breaking Bad.
yes,
Because
I've
I'm,
done that like 7 times.
I'm on a bicycle in my basement for 90 minutes or 2 hours every day, and I've watched some newer stuff, and I right now am bouncing between like 2 or 3 shows, none of which I really like, but I don't want to give up yet. So and like Breaking Bad is just waiting there. It's like the old girlfriend. It's just waiting. If I'm dissatisfied with the current state of things, I'm going back to her. And I think that I'm getting close to a breaking point with the shows I'm watching because none of them, I haven't chosen wisely, I don't think.
And I bailed on that show,
what show?
Breaking Bad.
Oh,
Second season, too dark. I'm not enjoying myself. I respect it. I think it's good, but I just was not enjoying. Wife was the same way. Like, let's watch a cooking show.
I've watched it in reverse.
Wow.
I watched it 6 times through. I'm like, I'm going to try something different this time. So I watched it from the finale to the premiere.
6 times.
Holy cow! You're only 25. Wouldn't that take 25 years?
Once a year.
Wouldn't that take 25 years to watch the whole thing 7 times?
I watch Breaking Bad once a year.
The whole series once a year.
Series usually takes me about 3 weeks.
What are there? How many seasons?
3
5?
weeks.
5.
5 seasons.
5 seasons of what? Like 20 shows each?
Yep.
So 100
Well,
shows.
The thing is,
It's not 20 each season, is it? Yeah.
Okay, I don't know.
probably like half that.
50 shows. 50 hours in 3 weeks?
Maybe 3 weeks. Definitely a month. Within a month.
Wow, that's good, I guess. Congrats.
I don't know if it's a good thing though.
I mean,
And
you're
yet
not going
you still
to...
have time to be an expert on Rondale Moore. I mean, what a diversified individual you've turned out to be.
It
Joe.
does. It's especially since I've seen it so many times through. It can be background a lot of times.
It's not the first thing you want to say in a new relationship.
No. Oh no.
that you've watched Breaking Bad 7 times the entire series.
I watch one of the darkest, most violent shows in the history of television over and over.
Over. I wouldn't lead with that. We have Taco Bell draft trivia coming up next hour. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog with Sneaky Joe. Greg Rousseau, rounds 2 and 3 tonight. We'd love to hear some of your comments and opinions about what the Bills have done and may do here in the rest of the weekend. Thanks for listening. Happy Friday. This is WGR.
Breaking news on WGR Sports Radio. It's Mike Schopp.
How many years would it take to drive back and forth to Montana, hauling back in a pickup truck pieces of Crazy Mouse?
And the Bulldog.
This is me. Hi, I'm Chris. Because I'm a maniac. I'm irresponsible. And I'm bad with money. And, I drink too much sometimes. So I don't make good decisions.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Joe turned the camera on in time to be able to watch him, for us to be able to watch him put his hat on, his taco hat. You get to see it in action.
Nice. A little behind the scenes.
He's fluffing it up right now. He's fluffing up the cheese and the lettuce.
Yeah, it's looking a little crooked. The meat's going to fall out.
Here's what's great about that hat. One thing, many things maybe. That's what a taco should look like. Hard shell. You don't see any soft shell taco hats. Have you ever seen one in your life?
So...
You can't see anything that's in it.
Hard shell tacos should be the face of tacos.
They are. It is
But
the face of tacos.
I would rather eat a soft shell.
I think right now you are the face of tacos. With that
Hard
hat
shell
on.
tacos are the least pleasing great idea in food. Because it looks like it's going to be great. You put it all together and oh wow, it looks fantastic, nice, fresh, crisp taco shell. And then you bite it, and then it just crumbles, and everything's on. And then you're basically eating, licking it off the plate. Not
the worst result.
No, it's still delicious, but it's just not. It's just not. It's most often for me a letdown.
You know what? This is a you problem, as we say now, because I think you should sort of live your life as if you don't care where everything goes. If it's going to be splatter, there's going to be crumb, you're going to lose some of it. You are going to lose some of it. But that bite is so worth it. The giant, the biggest bite you can take into a hard shell Taco Bell taco. Just crack. You can fit half of it in your mouth easily.
Well, the good news is...
And a bunch of it's going to fall out, but you don't care. That's the key. That's the key to happiness, not caring.
See, I do care, though. Because if it gets on the floor, and then I got to clean up after because I decided to have a hard shell taco.
No, you can't clean up. You got to leave it. Just leave it sitting there. Just leave the mess.
Now, the good thing about Taco Bell, that if you get the cheesy gordita crunch, you don't have to choose. It's a hard shell taco within a soft shell taco.
You speak like an expert on Taco Bell suddenly, which I think probably
all
has something
to
do with that hat arriving.
Yes.
Yeah, gift cards and the whole thing. You guys got gift cards, right. I heard.
Right. You've never seen a soft shell taco hat. Before yesterday, I'd never seen a hard shell taco hat.
No.
I'd never seen a taco hat. So
this is what we call trending up. Things are trending up. How do you guys feel about the AFC East after last night, differently than you did? We know now what happened. The AFC East story is less about the Bills, by far, than any other team.
Yeah. I think I'll believe the Jets are going to be good when the Jets are good. Obviously, Zach Wilson will have a lot to say about that. But I don't know if that'll work. It didn't feel to me like they were doing the same thing they did 3 years ago until really last night. And I'm like, okay, they're just good luck. I hope that works for you. I mean, sort of, whatever. I just, I don't want the Jets to be good, but you know what I mean. So they're to me, they're still nowhere. I'm not real bullish on Mac Jones, so I'm skeptical of the Patriots. I think Miami, I like Waddle a lot. They got the first edge guy. It really depends on if Tua can do it or not. And I tend to overlook how uneven last year was and want to give him time. I was pretty bullish on him coming into last year's draft. So I think Miami, I'm respecting Miami. I think Will Fuller there now, the tight end is good. And I like Waddle a lot. So I think if Tua can prove to be competent, they could be a threat. That's where I'm at.
So nobody's over-under changes much? I guess that's not even really that good of a question. I mean, the Jets, we knew what the Jets were going to do. We knew what the Dolphins were going to do. The Dolphins were going to draft a wide receiver, probably.
Right.
They were not going to replace Tua. So why would it change? In New England, this is pretty much what we expected also.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
I think Miami got better yesterday. I think the guys they've added, I respect what they did there. I recognize that most people are still great. They got a guy that can really run. Too bad Tua throws it 3 yards. Well, we'll see. So I'd say of the three, Miami is that's how I thought going in. So you're right. It didn't change anything. I think they're still the biggest threat in my opinion.
I don't think this would have changed their over-under. I think if the Patriots ended up with Justin Fields and not Mac Jones, I don't know if their over-under would have been any different. Mm-hmm. But just the threat that they could have been with a quarterback with all of those tools, with that ceiling that I don't think Mac Jones has, plus the roster and the coach, like I would have maybe not thought of them immediately as the biggest threat to the Bills, but they certainly could have been. And I don't know if I see them in any way doing that with Mac Jones at quarterback.
Meanwhile, the Bills drafted player, Sal described him as somebody, like if you're trying to analyze this particular choice in terms of short-term versus long-term, it's long-term. And that's interesting to think about because it's not really a league for long-term. Managers and coaches don't often get a long time to develop players, and hang out with them and see that through. Careers are short anyway, and the guy's going to have to be pretty good to last to, like the 5-year mark in the league. I'm not saying he won't be, but that's kind of what it takes. You have to be a pretty big, deal to last like that. So I understand why, if it's not the wrong way to think about it or just too simplistic, the Bills could end up at this sort of, choice where you are willing to take your time. You sort of understand that there's a lot of potential. Interesting to think about any player in these terms who isn't a quarterback, right? Like, how often have you had that? Like the guys, when we're not talking about a quarterback, how often would you hear any such description about a guy that it's going to take a while for the person to learn? That's
right. Yeah. If they had drafted, if Cleveland hadn't taken Newsom and he fell to the Bills, I know the Bills would be saying he's got to show up and win the job and compete and, Levi Wallace and whatever. But I would be sitting here right now at 5:12 p.m. on the Friday after round one going, Newsom is starting opposite Tre'Davious White. That's it. There's no learning curve there. He's a corner. He's going to show up and he's going to play. So that's why, I felt like it, if the Bills thought highly of that player, I obviously don't know for sure if they did, but they had a need. He seemed like a scheme fit. I think they could have gotten someone who was more ready to impact, but that's what happens when you're sitting at 30. Like, guys are going to go off the board. So you got to settle for, something of a project, I guess. I mean, I don't know if didn't edge guys go the next 2 picks after the Bills? I think they did, right? Tryon and
Baltimore.
And the Penn State guy.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know if the scouting reports on those players are projecting a runway like we're already talking about with Russo for the Bills. But with that said, it's not that long. Like, you think of like the NHL draft where you draft 18-year-olds and you're waiting 3-4 years. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen was drafted in 2017. He's just playing now and still probably isn't going to be here next year. The NFL draft, to me, a project in the NFL, Russo better be ready to start by next year. That's your you get a redshirt year, basically. Come in, work with the strength and conditioning guys to sculpt your body the way we want, get fit, and make sure you're maximizing all your physical gifts and learn how to be a technician, use your hands and the bend and all the different stuff, all the different things that need to be learned. But you should be, I think, ready to go by 2022 as a starter at defensive end for the Buffalo Bills. I don't think it's not a longer project than that, because your contract's only for 5 years if you pick up the 5th-year option even.
Yeah, I guess there always is, but maybe more than the minimum amount of criticism of this pick. And really, I don't study film, but I look at the mock drafts, and if somebody you pick somebody at 30 who people think should go at 80, then that's a story. That's I'm going to raise my hand. But I'm not going to tell you too much about his technique, obviously. I just think the Bills have earned a lot of credit in this sort of area. They've drafted other players. Well, they might not be the same in terms of this kind of description, but young guys like Edmonds, young guys where you might expect there to be a transition, sort of a growth period. Oliver, Epinesa, like these guys are kind of a little bit the same in that way. And like they've been pretty good. Defense has been good enough. The offense has been great, or last year was great. So whatever, there are probably a lot of different nuances or details in this vision, if you will. What positions for the youngest players, who's there already, all that kind of stuff. A lot of different layers to going to breaking all that down, and some of it I just know is sort of lost on me, but ultimately I'm fine to ride the ride with them because they've been successful.
Sure.
And one defensive end or edge rusher over another. Let's just see how they do. I'm not here to tell you that anything that they did here was wrong. How would you know anyway?
Yeah. Yeah, for what it's worth, I mean, as far as the ranking stuff goes, I don't have a consensus. I didn't compile, 10 different scouting services rankings, and I should look at the Draft Network because we work a lot with them, or like those guys are generous with their time and join us often. CBS Sports, which is where our buddy Chris Trapasso is, had Russo as the 8th ranked defensive end, 59th prospect.
He didn't like him, right?
In the draft. So, like, if people don't know that, like, you hear us talk about these different sites, that's one that I reference frequently. That's where he is there. And there is a player, Ojulari, who wasn't picked. There's a player from Texas, Osai, who wasn't picked. And maybe Carlos Basham Jr. is another edge prospect that wasn't picked in the first round that were rated ahead of him. Tryon, Owe, and Pay and Phillips went. So.
Quiddy Pay. Some great names.
Owe and Tryon went after the Bills also.
Yes.
There was a little run at the end.
Yeah,
there.
that's right. That's right. Thank you. That's right.
Ojulari was often, I saw him a lot, like around 12 to 15 in that range, or the middle of the first round, but he didn't go. I know this is sort of fresh in my mind because last night in that betting game, I wrote his name down several times. All times I did incorrect because he was never picked.
Right.
Come on.
Right. Yeah. That same site I just referenced had him rated 18th overall as a prospect, second edge prospect. But I guess there's a knee injury, or there's some medical thing there that might have scared teams off, is what I read today.
We had 6 guys, so we used index cards, and we used like every line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got about 8 or 9 picks on each card, and you would have to carefully write the name of the player in that small space. The player Owusu Koromoa, what's his name? It's close to that, but that's not right, probably.
Owusu Karamoa?
No, that's it.
Yeah,
the Notre Dame linebacker?
That actually is right.
Yep.
Yeah, you got it.
So
linebacker also, like Nate specifically watched him in Notre Dame and thinks he's going to be a safety, but
so guys were starting to predict he would be picked around like 9 or 10 maybe, like then. And so they would write his name down on the card, and I bet I saw 50 different picks of that player and maybe 50 different spellings, or just I mean I don't know. I still wasn't even sure if I had it right, but I knew who the guy was. I'm like, Owusu, blah blah blah, and just every time because I would collect the cards and then read out the players, and I was always reading his name last night, and he was never picked, and every time someone wrote it, it looked different. It was a fun game. At the beginning of the week, I was looking for a new way to bet the draft, but it was fine. And we made it $2 a pick. You didn't go to $5 like you recommended.
You didn't go to the 5.
No.
Right, okay.
We made it $2 a pick. And so if you were right on the pick, you either took the pot if you were the only one, or split it if other people got it. Like there were lots of those. Even like at pick 3, it was split down the middle. 3 for Lance and 3 for Jones. So that was fine. At the end of the night, the last 4 picks before Tampa, including the Bills, no one was right. So the last pot ended up being $60. Not doesn't sound like that much, but it was something. It was significant at that point. $60, and everybody and Tampa went fast. So you had to hurry and figure out what your pick was for Tampa. I don't remember who I picked, but Ryan got it. Ryan took the whole thing down with Tryon for the Buccaneers.
Ryan is in Ryan Gates?
Yeah, Ryan Gates.
The late producer, Ryan Gates?
Yes, former.
All right.
Right. So he won the big money there. Big money. And I was happy for him because he'd been doing a lot of losing over the course of the evening. I was happy for him.
Well, you're like that. You feel bad when other people lose.
Yeah. I was happy to see him win. Otherwise, we're just going to split it up. Anybody betting tonight? What is there to bet on tonight? I mean, there is a lot if you are the type and you can get to Pennsylvania or wherever you need to go and actually do that. All kinds of prop bets. Javonte Williams related. Elijah Moore.
Quarterbacks.
Is it maybe 2.5 for the second round?
Oh, really? That high? I've only seen odds on who the first guy will be taken. I didn't see anything about the total.
Mond would be. I don't know the odds. Mond would be my guess. Kellen Mond.
Minus 200, I think.
Okay, so he's the favorite?
Yeah.
Yep. Boy, you mentioned Javonte Williams there. What were you, Joe, you were on the air. Mike, were you guys, wherever you were you watching ESPN or NFL Network or Fox, or what were you?
Both ESPN and NFL Network, and eventually just ESPN because it worked better.
We had NFL Network.
As I said the tensest moments of the draft for me were around the Bears, right? Do the right thing here, Bears. Save me from a world where Justin Fields gets to the Patriots. I don't want to see that. Boy, when the Bills were on the clock and they cut to Mel Kiper, the first guy he started talking about was Javonte Williams.
Oh, yeah?
And I was just like, oh, no. I didn't want running back. I wanted Travis Etienne, who is a running back, but I didn't want just a running back. And he's talking. I'm just like, no! And then I think they started talking about defensive end. They might have even talked about Russo. I'm not sure. But boy, when he talked for, I don't know, a minute and a half or 2 minutes about Javonte Williams, I was just sitting in front of my TV with my head in my hands going, oh my God, if they do this, I'm going to lose it.
No, I hadn't thought about this at all, but I really couldn't hear any of the conversation on either channel. So, was it good? I mean, I know what it is. Usually, I've watched these drafts many times, but
it was fine.
Did anybody drive you crazy?
Nice there. No, I wouldn't say anybody drove me crazy. No.
Okay.
No.
Too bad.
So yeah, it was fine. I mean, the commissioner, just the commissioner makes me crazy. But the draft, the personalities there were fine. I had no other than Mel Kiper suggesting the Bills should draft this running back, who I decided very early on in this process I wanted no part of.
What was your problem with him? Remember?
He's just a guy. He's a running back. He is quintessentially what you didn't want the Bills to draft. I think Etienne was different, even though he's a running back. To me, he's a slightly more highly touted version of the guys they already have. Good contact balance, can make guys miss, doesn't have home run threat speed. Great. I've already got 2 of those cats. I don't need another one. Get out of here, was my approach to Javonte Williams.
So do you want to be out of the running back business all weekend?
No, I would still Gainwell. I think would be interesting, but no. To me, if you're not drafting someone who's different enough than Moss or Singletary, has home run threat speed, then yes, I'm out of the running back game. I do not need another running back. I needed Travis Etienne. So I'm not real interested. Again, unless there's another guy like Gainwell that sort of fits that description, I'll listen to that. And I don't think there's a long list of those guys. I've not heard a name aside from Gainwell thrown back at me when I have talked endlessly about Etienne.
They're looking at Jacksonville's roster. It feels like they're going to use him. I bet you can get Etienne for a third right now from Jacksonville. With Robinson there, and they have other needs. They would never draft him in the first round, right? Jacksonville, with the team they have, they would never actually do that.
Right. I think Meyer even last night said they plan to use him as a third down back.
Yeah, he did.
They've got Hyde and
Great
Robinson
idea.
to be their running backs, okay, that's the plan.
Great
Good
idea.
luck. Yeah.
Maybe the worst pick of the whole first round. I know the Raiders got panned for theirs because he wasn't like thought of as a first round player. I've read a couple of guys who thought he deserved to be, and that's part of the draft thing where you don't want to just pick guys that you could get in the round after.
Which they do every year.
The Raiders do a lot of that. Yeah, they draft like they don't have the internet. But the Jaguars with that roster, after drafting Trevor Lawrence, I mean, aren't the Bills a pretty good – this is not meant to pick at you and ETN and that whole conversation. Aren't the Bills of 2020 a pretty good example of how you want your offense to run? You get the quarterback thing right. You hit a home run at quarterback. You've got that guy. What do you want to do with him? You want to throw the ball down the field to receivers who can get open. You're not throwing the ball to running backs, like ever. Why would you do that? Why would you throw the ball to your running back? You're just not going to do that. You're going to get the ball down the field to DJ Chark and Chenault and Marvin Jones, who you went and signed. What in the world with Robinson to do some grunt work, what in the world do you want ETN for in a first-round pick?
You know what they want him for? They want him for the front of their season ticket package. Like,
good franchise.
Who in the league is thinking about, like, how do we sell tickets? And they're thinking, well, we're going to get the two Clemson guys, Lawrence and ETN, and we're going to sell out the place.
Right up the road.
It doesn't make any sense to me on the football field. I think that's why they did it, though.
And I'm a little bitter because in fantasy, ETN is very promising, and Robinson was a great story. Now they're both sort of just crushed.
That was the other thing. Every year, though, there's always an undrafted guy that's just they're going to try to replace him. Doesn't matter how good he plays. Philip Lindsay has 2,000-yard seasons. James Robinson has 1,400 yards. Doesn't matter. If they find another guy, they're going to do it.
Fred.
Yeah, we lived through this with Fred Jackson.
Right.
We know firsthand. Yep.
All right, we will take a break and have we'll have the Taco Bell trivia question coming up later this hour as well. Sal rejoins us at 6. Round 2 starts at 7 sharp. So be here for that. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, Sneaky Joe, also broadcasting live, streaming live on Facebook right now. This is WGR.
No problem. Rewind up to 24 hours with Odyssey Rewind. Download the Odyssey app, select WGR, and go back in time. Driven by Northtown Automotive. Shop online at northtownauto.com.
Green Bay Packers have shown in their history that they can dig in and make sure that they are just not going to give in to the whims of the player, whatever it is. And Rodgers can do the same. And it should be noted, by the way, Rodgers has the same agent, Dave Dunn, as Carson Palmer had when he shot his way out of Cincinnati. It took a while, not saying these situations are identical, but certainly the people, the principles involved could take the exact same tack.
Okay, Ian Rappaport following up on Aaron Rodgers' anger toward the Packers.
He didn't mention it there, by the way. Rodgers' agent is also Jordan Love's agent.
Right.
So
Now,
he would doubly want to get Rodgers out.
How do you handle that? Or do you just try to not care? Like
No,
you're just doing your best for each guy.
But what's the best for each guy? The best for each guy is probably Rodgers
out of
getting
Green
traded.
Bay. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I never think about that. There's so much crossover with the agents. I never think about how that could just be sort of all convoluted. Rappaport writes in a tweet, if Rodgers retires, he would have to repay the team $11.5 million this year and $11.5 million if he remains retired next year, all from his bonus. Unless the situation is repaired, this is a serious consideration, I'm told. What? Just water
0%
development.
chance that ever happens.
Really? You're the guy I ask.
Zero.
You're the guy I ask. What should I do?
I just cannot imagine getting to a situation where the player has value on the market. He doesn't want to play for the team, so he retires, and then he starts writing $11 million checks to them. No way!
How much does Jeopardy pay?
Happen.
It's not easy to win $11 million on Jeopardy, but you might make it by hosting the show.
I think I saw Trebek made
Maybe.
$10 million.
$10 million a year? Not an episode.
Oh no, a year. I would imagine.
What should that job pay?
How many episodes are a year?
200?
Okay, it's not, I don't think it's per episode.
I'm just guessing. I don't know. Yeah, $10 million an episode times two, it's just $2 billion a year. He's almost up to Amazon in a day or something.
Yeah.
Well, if Rodgers retires over this, it's not a trade. It wasn't easy anyway. But then last night came and went, and Denver used its first round pick, and San Francisco used its first round pick, and so Green Bay. I feel like Denver would offer Green Bay whatever it wants, and Green Bay is saying no, we're keeping Aaron Rodgers. So
right, I would bet that that's what happened last night.
Yeah, me too.
We've got the 9th pick. What else do you want? We'll, within reason, whatever, but we'll work with you here. We want to make this happen. And Green Bay said, no, we're gonna try to fix this with Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
So I think it's not as good for Green Bay. Their best chance to hit the ground running and get as good as they can, as quickly as they can, would have been to work with Denver yesterday and trade Aaron Rodgers. Because I guess what I'm telling you here is I don't think he's retiring. I believe him about Green Bay. I guess, of course, that could change. But I believe him about not wanting to go back there. So they're going to end up trading him in the summer for picks that they won't be able to use for 8 months. Congratulations. Good job.
Wow.
That's still what I would predict is that he gets traded, and I still like Denver for landing spot.
It almost has to be Denver at this point, though, doesn't it?
I know. I think the Raiders, though. I think the Raiders have been cutting. It's the Raiders. They cut a lot of their good players to try to cover for other mistakes. But maybe they get when Wilson was a hot topic, wasn't Vegas sort of mentioned there too? And he would go there. And I think those guys exist with the Raiders just to kind of get on TV. I think that's why they're in the league. They want to get on TV. They just want to sort of be in the league and on TV in important games or just any games. Actually, we'll move our team to Vegas. You'll want to cover us more if we do that. And just come and cover us. We're going to lose a lot, but we're happy to be here. There's like 30% truth in what I'm saying right now.
Yeah.
I 30,
and they
30%
were
mean it.
mentioned. They were mentioned yesterday, right? It was
Yes.
the Raiders, the Broncos, and the 49ers were the three teams that were talked about as potential landing spots. So that fits.
Is there some way to do that? I mean, there probably is. Sorry, Derek. Special circumstances, buddy. Aaron Rodgers hit the market. What do you think is Aaron Rodgers' career, sorry, my friends in the numbers world, record in the playoffs? This is not to tell you that he's not good or something. I'm not saying
I know,
that.
but it's below 500.
Yeah, that's probably right.
11-9.
Oh, all right. I'm wrong.
He has at least one win most years. Not 2011, not 2013. They might have lost to Arizona both times those years.
Yeah.
11-9. What's going to happen here? This is funny. You are 0% chance he retires, and I am me. And what does the guy like me say about this? He's never playing for the Packers. He's done with them. He's done with them. He is so done with them. He is dragging them through the media purposely draft weekend because they did not accommodate him. It was all going whatever was happening privately. It was all we didn't know any of it. I bet certain reporters did, but they agreed not to tell us or something. We didn't know any of it until yesterday, and there was a trade proposed, but by the 49ers reportedly. Reports varied about this, but there was something to the 49ers and the Packers that it might make sense to think Rodgers brokered or like just sort of pushed for, even through San Francisco. That doesn't happen. And then there's last night is Mark Schlereth going on a radio show saying it's as close to a done deal as it can get with Denver. And then that doesn't happen. And Schlereth today was on with Pat McAfee, and he said that when he reported that, Rodgers texted him. It's like, what are you hearing? Not, shut up.
Right.
What are you hearing? So Rodgers is just like, he is pushing the buttons on this. Despite how Rappaport and Schefter in their way are still using per sources and whatnot.
Yeah. Seems a little weird to me that Aaron Rodgers, well, I mean, he would know some of what's going on, I guess, but that, like, the text to Schlereth sounds like he's eager. He's like one of us sitting home, like, well, what's happening? But he knows Mark Schlereth well enough and has his phone number. Well, the text him is like, what are you hearing? It just seems like a funny thing for the guy that is the epicenter of the story to be asking. Like, you would think that he would know if it were close with Denver, but he's asking Mark Schlereth, like, what's going on?
He doesn't get to know. He doesn't get to know. They're having the conversations. The Packers, like, how would we be? You want to think that the team just did everything it could. And if this could happen with Eichel.
Yeah.
The team did everything it could, and then, by the way, this is a way more serious and bigger deal than Jack Eichel would be. The team's in last every single year of his career. Like, okay, he gets traded. Okay, this is Aaron Rodgers. You were talking about Super Bowl, playoffs, Hall of Fame. So the Packers want to look like they have tried everything. And I guess they're doing okay. Like, that's what
they're doing. They didn't trade him yesterday.
Where they don't do that well is in the draft. Because they are drafting quarterback and running back and cornerback and just, come on. Even Baltimore is drafting a receiver. What are you doing?
Right.
Even last night they could not be forced to bring themselves to draft a receiver. Elijah Moore might have been great. I mean, the stat is amazing. I said it yesterday. In Rodgers' career as a starter, going back to 2008, they have drafted in the first round a grand total of one skill position player, and it's Jordan Love, the quarterback.
Yep. And the only other offensive player they drafted was a lineman. So, and they only did that once. So it's not like they've like loaded up like Dallas or something and drafted a bunch of like just big meat locker guys to like protect Aaron Rodgers either. Like they haven't done that either.
Right. What do you think, Joe? Does he go? What happens? I'm saying he's traded or he retires. Bulldog is saying he's traded or he stays and plays for the Packers.
I think I want to agree that he's traded or he retires, but I don't think the retirement threat is all that likely. Like, I don't think it's 0, but I also might not think it's even 25.
I don't want retirement on the board at all with my name on it. He's getting traded. He's not playing there.
Because
wait, you said I thought he's going to play. He's just not retiring. He's not retiring to me. He's not playing in Green Bay. Like, I think he's 100% getting traded. That's where this ends. That's my shot.
All right.
The thing I do wonder about Green Bay is, though, like, will they take it to the very end? Will they just not care? Like, you're not playing for anyone but the Green Bay Packers. Like, I don't know. There's something about them that I feel like they could take that route, even though it doesn't make sense, because you should get everything you can.
Have they offered him one of those owner certificates? Have they done that?
Yeah.
Should the Bills do that?
I
think, Mike, you make the right point here that they are, putting on. They're looking like they're not caving in. I just think eventually they will have to get over that. And they will have been, maybe the Sabres, if they get pushed to the same extent, would want to do the same thing. I would want them to. I'd want them to exhaust all possibilities. But eventually, if you believe the guy is not going to play for you, you have a team to run. So get assets and figure out your future. And I think eventually Green Bay will have to get there. It just may take them until the summer because they'll hope that they can salvage this somehow. And maybe they can, but I don't predict they will.
Tomorrow's May 1st. It's not summer, but...
Nope.
That was news to you today.
Yes, it was.
Mike asked me my second
May
vaccine
1st?
shot
Yes.
was. I'm like, it's May 10th. He's like, it's in May.
You know why? Yeah, I'm like,
All
it's
the
in
way in
May.
May.
And then I said, wait a minute. That's tomorrow is May. I know why. Here's my excuse. I now consider the days in terms of what day number of the year is it because of the push-ups. Today is day one. Today is not April 30th. Today is day 120 because I have to count push-ups all day, and it's what today. I know today is 120. I have 20 left, by the way. Maybe I'll do them now.
Yep.
Let's turn the camera off first.
This is a push-up break for me.
Oh, look at us. Look at Hans and Franz over here. Oh, who are these guys? I'm intrigued. Wow, they care a lot about their bodies.
Oh, yeah, look at me.
The third guy's got a taco for a hat.
Right.
What is going on over there, actually? Sal Capaccio at 6. Sal's into boxing. Now, you can't joke like this about Sal. Taco Bell trivia. How about that right now, Joe? You want to play that?
Let's do it.
You like
Sounds
trivia?
like Talking to me? Yeah, sure. Yeah, I love it.
I especially love Taco Bell trivia.
Oh. We want the first correct answer, right? That's how we do it.
Yes.
644-9878. All right. Gregory Rousseau became the first Bills first-round pick from the U, Miami, Florida. Since who? Who was the last player from the U, Miami, to be drafted in the first round by the Bills? I just came up with this. I was close. I forgot we were doing this. I like it, though. Joe's got a look on his face like, Last player from the U before Russo, drafted by the Bills in round 1. The answer next. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
talking. We knew we felt very good about two guys that we wanted, that we knew we'd be happy with our team wherever we got them. So we tried to decide where you had to go.
Kyle Shanahan, finally we're all allowed to know what they have been planning on, the 49ers. Trey Lance. The rookie quarterback situations vary in terms of how interesting they are. Jacksonville, Jets, just no-brainers. But San Francisco, Chicago, New England. That is the order, too, in which the players were selected. Who knows? You have veterans on each team that could end up starting their seasons, or the rookies could start. I think anything's possible there.
That'll be big for our game.
Yes. Let's look at that next hour. I haven't looked at that today, but today would be the day to do that. The quarterback carousel draft.
The update, I don't know. I haven't noticed it in the updates since the first one of the show at 3 o'clock. But when Joe, he read a line about the Bears, about Nick Foles, how he's $7 million. If they cut him, it's $14 million. They'd love to find a trade partner. And I LOL'd hard. Like, I don't know what's the text for LOL hard? Is it that it just
I think
LOL hard?
It's LOL in all caps.
It's either LOL in all caps, LOL OL.
Yeah, LOL.
Or LOL Z.
Or you can upgrade from the crying laughing emoji to the rolling crying laughing emoji.
Yes.
Okay.
I've still never used LOL.
Whatever one of those fits, that was me at 3:02 when Joe said that. Like, I'll bet they'd love to find somebody to trade for Nick Foles. They've got Andy Dalton and Nick Foles, and they just drafted Justin Fields. Hello.
I'm on team ha, by the way. There's LOL people and there's
just
ha people.
A single ha.
Ha ha. Well, again, it varies.
Yeah.
Same way.
I think something is really hilarious, I go through the trouble of I will text out ha 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 LOL like a bunch of it as much as I can do without making a mistake. Once I make a mistake, I stop and then I'm done.
Did you just say a single LOL, a single ha rather, is disparaging? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I think that can be
like
seen
K?
as insulting.
Like K?
Kind of like K. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Kind of like.
Oh, yeah. By the way, I like I never know how to spell that. How do you spell that?
AYE.
That's I.
Yeah, I guess that's right.
We need another letter. We need a new letter for that one, I think.
I haven't thought this through.
Yeah. Well, now's your chance. The answer to our Taco Bell trivia question. Do you know this one? Who was the last player before last night from the U, Miami, to be drafted in the first round by the Bills?
I mean, I thought of Kelly, but that is so long ago. There's got to be somebody between 83 and now.
There's one player.
I thought of Roscoe Parrish, but he was the second round pick that happened to be their first pick of that draft.
Right.
With the 23rd pick of the 2003 NFL Draft, the Bills select Willis McGahee.
Oh, gosh.
That was on a Saturday.
Yeah.
That was on a Saturday.
Yes, it was.
Willis McGahee is our answer. Congratulations to our winner. Joe and I had a little game because that's what we do. How many calls before the right answer? Joe's like, what does 3.5 sound like? I said, I'll say under 3. The third caller, the second guy guessed Jalen Waddle, I'm told. But the third guy, because Miami picked Jalen Waddle. He probably just that makes sense now.
We were asking for the Dolphins pick.
You don't lose anything for being wrong in these games. Sal Capaccio rejoins us. Thanks to those of you who've watched on the Facebook feed. We'll be radio only after the update here on WGR.
Stay connected to our shows and get in on the conversation. Follow us on